Good evening. The meeting of the Planning Commission will come to order. Will you please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? Ready? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. At this time, could we have the secretary please call roll?
Yes. Commissioner Uva,
Present.
Commissioner Dorte,
Present.
Vice Chair Ortiz,
Present.
and Chair Owens.
Present.
Thank you. We have a quorum.
Thank you. This is the time set aside for oral communication from the Planning Commission. Does any commissioner wish to make an announcement, report on a conference or meeting, or request items for a future agenda? Commissioner Ortiz.
Thank you, Chair. Nothing to report today.
Thank you. Ms. Uva
Nothing to report.
and Mr. Duarte.
Nothing for me.
I have nothing as well. Thank you. Does the interim community development director have any changes to the agenda?
No changes.
Does the interim community development director have any presentations?
No presentations tonight.
Does the interim community development director have a report on city council actions?
No actions to report tonight.
Thank you. Now is the time set aside for the public hearing for the conditional use permit application PLN-22-00112. Does the deputy city clerk have proof of publication?
Yes, Chair, I do.
Thank you. Will the interim community development director introduce staff making this presentation?
Our senior planner, Alfonso Hernandez, will give the presentation.
Good evening, Chair Owens and members of the Planning Commission. Tonight you'll be considering a conditional use permit for a tutoring center. The applicant is David Hill and the business is the Tutoring Club. This is an aerial of the lot outlined in red. It is located at 8554 Firestone Boulevard at the southwest corner of Firestone Boulevard and Patton Road. As you can see on the screen, the subject site is a smaller lot at the top of the screen, but it is also part of a larger commercial center, which includes a larger lot towards the bottom of the screen. Here's a segment of the city's zoning. The property is found within the C2 zone. The properties to the east and west are also zoned C2 and developed with commercial uses. To the north is Downey High School, and to the south are condominium developments, or a condominium development, and the PIH hospital. Here's an image of the site. The total size of the lot is 1.6 acres. There is one multi-tenant building on the site at 9,600 square feet. However, as I mentioned, the site is part of a larger commercial development, and all the buildings on the site total 21,627 square feet. The center was built in the year 2000. The previous tenant was Sprint Cellular. They occupied a space of 3,456 square feet. That tenant space was recently, through building permits, split into two, and this use will occupy one of those tenant spaces. Again, the use will be a tutoring center and occupy 1,693 square feet of tenant space. The hours of operation will be Monday through Thursday, 2:30 p.m. to 8:30 p.m., and Saturday, 9:30 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. The expected occupancy will be a maximum of 10 students and 4 employees. Here is a site plan showing the location of the proposed use. To the right of the screen is Firestone Boulevard, and to the bottom is Patton Road. Here is the floor plan showing the space. The majority of the area is an open space with group desk. And within the space is also an office, a break room, closet, and restrooms. In conclusion, it is staff's opinion that all findings can be made in a positive manner. And with that, I end my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Alfonso. At this time, does the Planning Commission have any questions? Commissioner Ortiz?
I have none.
Thank you. Commissioner Uva?
Just one. I thought I saw somewhere in here when I was reading it, but I don't see it now, that the subject site has 96 parking spaces, right?
It does.
Is that sufficient for what we've got? Because I go there occasionally to get coffee, and it's occasionally hard to find parking there. Depends on the time of day.
Sure, it is the site is considered underparked. So if it were a new development today, they'd require to provide 103 parking spaces. But the uses are the same that was there previously, so they're afforded credits for those spaces.
Got it. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Duarte, questions?
No questions for me this time.
And I have none either. Thank you. Before I open the public hearing, call the applicant or his or her representative, this would be the time for planning commissioners to disclose any pre-hearing site visits or pre-hearing discussions that the commissioners may have had about the project. Vice Chair?
I have none.
Thank you. Ms. Uva?
None.
Commissioner Duarte?
None for me.
And none for me. Thank you. At this time, the public hearing is now open. Will the applicant or his or her representative please come forward to give testimony?
Hello, Commissioners.
Good evening.
Good evening. Thank you, everybody, for turning out and hearing a little bit about our project. My name is Liam. I'm the representative of David Hill. I'm his business partner in this venture. To give everybody an idea what Tutoring Club is, we kind of differentiate ourselves from some of the other secondary education services out there by kind of catering to a broader swath of the student population. You know, a lot of services you see, they either focus on elementary students only, high school students only. And in our experience, which we have five of these locations in Orange County, most families who have 2, 3, 4 children, it's really difficult to find a place to take everybody and really get them the help that they need, especially in light of the last 2 3/4 years. And that's what we intend to do. Certainly, the proximity to Downey High School makes it such that we will probably be a little bit more slanted to catering to the high school population. But the beautiful thing is that we genuinely can help students from kindergarten all the way up through 12th grade. Obviously, Warren High School is within a mile as well, so 7,500 students, many of whom need some degree of help. I think we can all admit, certainly some needing more than others. And that's what we intend to do. So as far as addressing the parking question of earlier as well, the good thing is that the majority of our clients, we consider ourselves to have 2 clients, students and parents, they don't drive because they're under 16 years old. And with the high schoolers who even do drive, we could envision a situation where many of them would just be walking across the street. We're more of kind of a drop-off pickup enterprise, if you will. So yeah, we don't see that being an enormous issue, especially given that our hours are more 2:30 to 8:30. So later afternoon, especially 4:30, 5:30, 6:30, we'll see kind of our traffic pick up, and that's when some of the other businesses around there, the coffee shop, for example, might be a little bit less. So I rest to any questions. Thank you all so much.
Thank you, Liam. Commissioner Ortiz, questions?
Thank you. No questions at this time. Thank you.
Commissioner Uva, questions?
No questions.
Commissioner Duarte?
None.
I have just a couple. So I think you're going to run out of space because of what you spoke about, the proximity of both high schools and the need. In the target area of education, are your focuses certainly language skills, mathematics, and English and vocabulary? And
I hate to give you this answer, but all of it.
yeah, no, that's fine.
So there's 2 primary services that we offer if you kind of want to put them into 2 buckets. One is our own curricula. So this is for students in reading, writing, and math. We have 3 different programs that might be, you know, a grade level behind, 3 grade levels behind where they need to be. So we need to run perpendicular to what the schools are doing right now to catch them up. On the other hand, with the high schoolers especially, it's more assisting the majority of those students, granted some use our programs, but with what they have. So that might be a biology class, it might be a Spanish 3 language class. So really just assisting them better understanding the material that maybe they missed in class that day.
Got it. And at the particular educational levels, it's from college prep down to, basic beginnings?
5-year-old. So that would be kindergartners. We kind of draw the line there when you deal with, which we have in the past at other locations, some 4.5-year-olds. They can be a little unruly. So we set our minimum at 5, kindergarten. Again, I do think we'll slant probably towards the older population here, but certainly there's a number of elementary and middle schools that feed into those high schools. So I might be surprised myself.
Yes, Great. Well, thank you. That's all the questions I think we've had.
Thank you very much.
Has there been any correspondence in favor or opposition?
No, Chair, there has not.
Thank you. Is there anyone who would like to speak in favor or opposition of this application?
Good evening. Taking the advice from District 5's councilman, we're going to do some more due diligence ahead of time here. Curriculum was mentioned with this group of what they're actually going to have as curriculum. Is it going to be parallel to what is being taught in the California schools, specifically like science and biology? Just what is science? Is it are they going to teach transgender indoctrination? Is that allowed in this tutoring company? Because they're going to go along with what the state is proposing. Are they going to teach critical race theory? Because in their material, it talks about being more inclusive and more equitable. And those are the terms that are brought forward by your woke, liberal, white, elitist Democrats that bring it and instill it into our educational process. Now, we need to know some of these things ahead of time. I mean, if they want to do this, they need to be above board before you approve any of their permits. What if there's a lockdown like COVID-19? Are they going to submit to these unjust, unlawful lockdowns that should not be allowed? I mean, are you going to have to be vaccinated before you come into the place? These vaccinations that are not really vaccinations, they are killing people out there. We need to know some of these things, and we're not hearing it. So now we don't want any surprises, or and it would be nice to know if we are going to support the nuclear family type of situation for a household, because that is the most prosperous form of family that we could possibly have in a society. And that is a mother, a father, and the children. And that the father's the head of the household, acting as such. The mother is the mother, and then the children are below the parents, and they raise the kids. Are the parents going to be honored as over their children and having control of their children, other than the state deciding what the children can have, whether they can have transgender surgeries without parental consent and things of that nature? We don't need to be butchering up these kids without the parental consent. So if those questions could be answered, we'd greatly appreciate it.
Does the applicant care for any rebuttal time?
No, thank you so much, though.
Thank you. At this time, the public hearing is now closed. Does staff have a recommendation?
Staff recommends the Planning Commission adopt conditional use permit PLN-22-00112.
Thank you. It's now for the time for the Planning Commission to deliberate. Does the commission have any questions at this time, or would the commission like to discuss the item? Commissioner Ortiz, comment?
No comment on regards to the application, but I do agree with Commissioner Uva in regards to heavy traffic. And now that we're bringing kids along, I did ask city staff if they can see if we can contact the tenant to see if we can put some rails for the safety of the kids and see if they're okay with adding that.
So we might ask the planner, we can condition in regards to that particular interest?
It's not for the application though, right? It's for
The property owner?
the property owner.
Okay, so it moves maybe past this particular, okay, gotcha. All right, strike the comment. Commissioner Uva, questions or comment?
I don't have any questions. I think this is a wonderful thing for our families to bring their children there to get some help. And I love the fact that it's from kindergarten all the way up to high schoolers. I think that's wonderful. Thank you for bringing this to our city.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Duarte, comment?
Yeah, I kind of second what Ms. Uva said in terms of, having this business here in the community. I think it'd be a benefit to our students here. I guess my one comment would be, other than that, would be, towards the property manager. I know this property in particular, there seems to be a lot of trash left there in that parking lot. So, maybe they could do something about, clean up there a little more, especially since it's going to be a little more traffic. But yeah, I kind of do see a lot of like empty food bags around there. I don't know if it's a spillover from the high school or not, but if we can just keep it up a little nicer for all the businesses there, I think that's my one comment for the property manager.
Thank you, Commissioner. My comments will echo the comments of my colleagues. Yeah, this is a great opportunity and service, and you've got a good location, you've found. I think you outgrow it, like I was saying, so good luck in your endeavors. At this time, what is the pleasure of the Planning Commission? May I have a motion?
Motion to pass PLN-22-00112.
I will second it.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Could we set us up for a vote?
The motion passes 4-0 to approve PLN 22-00112 for a conditional use permit.
Thank you. I want to remind the applicant that the action of the Planning Commission will be final unless the matter is appealed to the City Council with the appropriate fee within the next 15-day period as set forth in the city's municipal code. Thank you. Now is the time set aside for public hearing on the tentative parcel map PLN-21-00175. Does the Deputy City Clerk have proof of publication? Thank you.
Yes, Chair.
Thank you. Will the interim Community Development Director introduce staff making the presentation?
Our principal planner, Guillermo Arreola, will give the presentation.
Members of the Planning Commission, before you is application PLN 21-00175. It is a proposed tentative parcel map to create two lettered lots for the future development of two townhomes. The site is located at 11613 Aidenmore Avenue, just south of Hall Road, and the site is currently developed with a single-family residence. The proposed map will create two equal-sized lettered lots, each with a two-story, 1,800 square foot townhome, attached two-car garage. The site will also include one guest parking space. Please be aware that only the parcel map is under the purview of the Planning Commission tonight, as future development of the site is permitted by right. However, the applicant did provide renderings of the proposed development, which includes a contemporary design, architectural design, and includes a combination of wood siding, stone veneer, stucco, window shutters, and asphalt shingle. All facades will be staggered to avoid plain, monotonous facades. The Development Review Committee reviewed the project, and no concerns were raised, and standard conditions of approval were incorporated. All findings for the tentative parcel map can be positively made, and the proposed subdivision complies with the Subdivision Map Act and Downey Municipal Code. Mr. Chairman, that concludes my presentation. I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you, Guillermo. Commissioner Ortiz, questions of staff?
None at this time. Thank you.
Ms. Uva, questions of staff?
None.
Commissioner Duarte, question?
No questions.
I have one. I missed it in your presentation. I'm sorry. What's the size of the units, square footage?
Just over 1,800 square feet.
Each one?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. That's all I had. Before I open the public hearing and call the applicant or his or her representative, this would be the time for the planning commissioners to disclose any pre-hearing site visit, pre-hearing discussion that the commissioners may have had about the project. Commissioner Ortiz?
I have none.
Commissioner Uva?
None.
And Commissioner Duarte?
None.
And I have none. Thank you. The public hearing is now open.
Commissioners and planning staff, good evening. My name is Samir Hijazi. I'm the project architect, and I think staff has made a very simple and straightforward presentation. I have nothing to add to it. However, I'd be happy to take any questions that you might have.
Thank you, sir. So Commissioner Ortiz, questions in regards to the project?
I have none. Thank you.
And Commissioner Uva?
I have none.
Commissioner Duarte?
I have none.
And I have none. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much.
Has there been any correspondence in favor or opposition?
No, Chair, there is not.
Thank you. Is there anyone who would like to speak in favor or opposition of this application?
Yes, we're going from a single-family dwelling to a couple of townhouses. I'm just curious, has anybody considered the impact of the carbon footprint that's going to be coming into play in this situation? Clearly, we're told that we're having too much density and too many people in here, and we need to reduce the population for climate change. I don't hear anybody speaking up about the issue of climate change or the impact of the carbon footprint. I would just wonder if the applicant has even thought of this situation as well, or maybe they don't care. Otherwise, you decide what you want to do.
Good evening.
Good evening. My name is Dale Penn. I live at 11656 Adamore, about 5 houses down. I also own property at 11652 Adamore Avenue. Most of the property there is R1 zoned. However, this is R3. The width of the front, this is the first time I got to see this, so the width of the front of the property is 65, and standard width on an R1 zone is 50 foot in width.
Yes.
Okay, so basically what they're doing, I also work at a Western Allied Construction, by the way, which is a property developer and a general contractor, so I'm very familiar with the process. So what they're doing here is they're taking a lot, a standard R1 lot, as they shown, and doubling the amount of houses on there. Not just one, as I am also doing. I'm building a lot, a house, and an ADU. But they're actually putting 2 houses and 2 ADUs, and they only have 5 parking spots. So in mine, I have a house and an ADU, and I also have 5 parking spots, but only 2 units. Now this, I really wouldn't mind so much, but I actually live there. And as Guillermo would probably know, the width of the lot or the street is 29 feet. What sounds like a lot, but it's not. When you have 2 cars and parking on each side, 2 standard vehicles cannot pass without one pulling over and trying to find an empty spot. So what we're doing here is we're gonna end up with the zoning, you're gonna have a huge problem at that end of the street, impacting everyone else on the rest of the street. And it's just an overuse of the property. I am definitely in for developing the property, but not that much. And I do understand he's an owner, but I don't think they really considered the parking problems they're gonna have with this. Because with 4 different houses, you're not gonna rent to just one person with 1 car. You're gonna rent to a couple, a family, and they're gonna have 2 cars. You do not have enough parking for that. And that's all I have to say.
Thank you, Mr. Penn. Anyone else? The public hearing is now closed. I'm sorry, before I close it, does the applicant care for any rebuttal time in regards to any comment? All right, thank you. The public hearing is now closed. Does planning staff have a recommendation?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. Staff recommends the Planning Commission approve application PLN 21-00175 for a tentative parcel map.
Thank you. It's now time for the Planning Commission to deliberate. Does the commission have any question at this time, or would the commission like to discuss the item? Commissioner Ortiz.
I have none.
Thank you. Ms. Uva?
I'd like to ask Crystal if she, or Ms. Landavazo, if she could shed light on the changes that were mandated by state law that kind of put us in this position.
Sure. So for clarification, the application that's before the Planning Commission for decision tonight is the parcel map itself. And that is to create the subdivision in order to have two separate legal lots. The development of the site, the 2 units along with an ADU to go along with each unit, that is something that's mandated by the state. So they've complied with city regulations and everything that we're allowed to apply in that each primary unit has a 2-car garage. So those are the 4 parking spaces within garages. The additional guest parking space is what we were able to try to work out with the developer, and they provided that without being required by code. Because the 2 ADU units do not require any parking, the city cannot implement parking because of transit that's within the area.
Great. Thank you so much. That's all I have.
Thank you. Commissioner Duarte, question or comment?
No, I think that actually cleared up a lot in terms of, I know we're just here for the parcel. So, I mean, I have no questions or comments other than that.
Thank you, and I have no comment. So at this time, I'll entertain a motion from the Planning Commission. Motion and second.
Motion to pass PLN-21-00175.
Second.
So we have a motion and a second. Could we set us up for a vote, please?
The motion passes 4-0 to approve PLN-21-00175 for a tentative parcel map.
Thank you. I want to remind the applicant that the action of the Planning Commission will be final unless the matter is appealed to the City Council with the appropriate fee within the next 15-day period as set forth in the city's municipal code. Now is the time set aside for the public hearing on lot merger application PLN-22-00120. Does the city clerk have proof of this publication?
Yes, Chair, I do.
Thank you. Will the interim community development director introduce staff making this presentation?
Associate Planner Gerardo Marquez will be giving the presentation.
Good evening, Chair, Commissioners, and members of the audience. The last case before you tonight is PLN 22-00120, which is a lot merger request to merge 6 contiguous lots into one single lot of approximately 7 acres. Subject site is located at 11,000 Florence Avenue within the Florence Avenue I-5 specific plan 90-1 area. As seen here, the subject site is within the specific plan. The site is located on the eastern side of the city and is bound by Studebaker Road to the west, Florence Avenue to the north, and Dollison Drive to the south. The subject site is surrounded by R1 zoning and C2 zoning to the west. Here's an aerial of the site. As you can see, the red outline is the specific plan area. The subject site is outlined in yellow, and it is a 7-acre site. A couple months ago, staff did bring before the Planning Commission the development of a new 2-story car dealership retail building, which will be home to the new Honda dealership. In addition to the new 2-story building, a detached service building was also approved at the time. As part of that approval, there was a condition of approval that called for the lots to be merged into a single lot prior to building permit issuance, which is what is before you tonight. Here we have a map of the lots in question. The dashed lines that you do see are the lot lines that will effectively disappear after the lot merger. And the solid, bold black line around the perimeter of the site will be the new lot line. This project was presented to the Design Review Committee. Standards conditions that coincide with the already approved entitlement were issued by the Planning Department, and no other department expressed concerns or opposition over the project, and standard conditions were imposed. That concludes staff's presentation.
Thank you, Mr. Marquez. Does the Planning Commission have any questions of staff? Commissioner Ortiz?
I just have one question, just to be educated a little bit. We approved the HANA Center, what was it, last meeting?
A couple few meetings ago, yeah.
Why wasn't this approved before that? So if we don't approve this, then what happens?
Yeah, at the time of the application for the development of the car dealership, and that was before my time here, I do know that there was some logistical things with the transfer of one of the lots. Okay. So they went ahead knowing that we would impose that condition that these lots were to be merged prior to building permit issuance.
Mr. Chair, if I can provide additional clarification, the parcel on the northwest corner of the lot was formerly owned by Caltrans, and that was a much longer process for the property owner to acquire that property. So rather than hold up the entire development, we started entitlements, and that's why this is coming after the fact.
Okay. That's the only question I had. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Ula, questions?
Just to follow up on that, so were the 6 parcels owned by 6 different people?
I can provide clarification.
Yeah.
Most of the lot was owned by one owner, and it was sold to the Honda owner. So he acquired all of the parcels except for that one on the corner.
Okay, makes sense. Thank you.
Great. Commissioner Duarte?
No, I think our 2 previous commissioners provided good insight on the background on that.
Yeah.
Thank you for the clarification.
Thank you. I was in the same place, I was trying to understand, okay, was the cart in front of the horse, chicken in front of the egg?
Yeah.
And who owned the previous 7 parcels? But the Caltrans one makes sense. They're very slow in how they do real estate transactions. All right. Thank you. Okay, the public hearing is now, I'm sorry, before I open the public hearing and call the applicant or his or her representative, this would be the time for the planning commissioners to disclose any pre-hearing site visits or pre-hearing discussions that the commissioners may have had about the project. Commissioner Ortiz?
I have none.
Commissioner Uva?
None.
Commissioner Duarte?
None.
And I have none. The public hearing is now open. Will the applicant or his or her representative please come forward to give testimony?
Yeah, good evening, Commissioners. I have nothing to add to the presentation. My name's Bill Gilbert. I'm the civil engineer on the project, and I've been asked by the owner to come tonight because he's unfortunately sick. So if you guys have any questions for me, I have nothing else.
Thank you, Mr. Gilbert. Has there been any correspondence in favor or opposition?
No, Chair, there is not.
Thank you. Is there anyone who would like to speak in favor or opposition of this application?
That's correct. They had to buy the extra lot that needed to be purchased. Okay, here we are. We're doing this for Honda, and it's good for business. I am a free market capitalist more than anybody. However, we have people throughout our council that are not free market capitalists. We had an opportunity for them to stand up for their values as far as affordable housing goes. They had 7 acres to build affordable housing on, and they provided nothing there for people that need housing, according to them. And that's pretty indicative of what's going on in the city. We had our housing element discussion, which we need 6,200 affordable houses, and yet we've only provided 3,400. So we failed miserably. So you Democrats, whenever you make a promise, we'll know you won't keep your word, okay? We understand. And it doesn't just end here in Downey. Also, the state of California, Governor Newsom is a complete, utter disaster on this. He promised 3.5 million homes, either permitted or built. And to date, there are only 452,000 permitted or built. What an utter failure this guy is. So whenever they promise something, know for certain that they're not going to fulfill their word. They never do. They're not even capable of fulfilling the obligations that they have. That's why at the council, it was approved with only 3,400 homes slated, and we were supposed to have 6,200. Thank you very much.
Hi, my name is Linda. I live on Crossdale. So I live, it's Crossdale, then it's Dollison, Fairford, and then Studebaker and so forth. So when they say merge, I know that big lot. So what else do they want to merge, I guess is my question. I don't know if you can help me with that. As far as like, what else are they going to merge? Because I know they have another, there's a church, then there's the other Honda World. So I was wondering, are they going to try to merge all that?
I think, Crystal, maybe you can answer that one.
If we can provide, after the public comment is over, we can provide clarification during their discussion. We can't engage in the back and forth during public comment.
Okay.
Thank you.
If you had any other questions, you can go ahead and ask them now.
Anything else? Any other statement?
No, I think that was just my only concern was like, was it going to affect like the traffic between Dollison? Are they going to have to close off any streets? I guess was my only concern. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, does the applicant care for rebuttal? Thank you. The public hearing is now closed. Does staff have recommendation?
Oh, he's queuing up the map again, but our recommendation is to approve the proposed lot merger.
Okay, so you're gonna put the map back up? Mm-hmm. Okay. We'll hold off for a second.
Okay. Yes. So to provide clarification, the solid black line is going to show what the new property boundary is. So it's not expanding past what you already see essentially fenced off. All it's doing is it's removing all of the dotted lines so that now legally with the county recorder, it's just one clean parcel. The reason for that is that building permits cannot be issued across across property lines. So since the building will stretch across some of those property lines, they're required to merge them all into one parcel.
Great, thank you. Thank you for that explanation. All right, so the public hearing is now closed. Does the planning staff have a recommendation?
Staff recommends approval of attached resolution for PLN-22-00120 for a lot merger request.
Thank you. It is now time for the Planning Commission to deliberate. Does the commission have any questions at this time, or would the commission like to discuss the item? Commissioner Ortiz, questions or discussion?
No questions, a good history lesson of that specific lot.
Great. Ms. Uva, questions and or discussion?
No questions.
Thank you. Commissioner Duarte, questions or discussion?
None for me.
And none for me, thank you. At this time, I'll entertain a motion and a second. What is the pleasure of the Planning Commission?
Motion to pass PLN-22-00120.
Second.
So we have a motion and a second.
The motion passes 4-0 to approve PLN 22-00120 for a lot merger application. Thank you.
Thank you. I wanted to remind the applicant that the action of the Planning Commission will be final unless the matter is appealed to the City Council with the appropriate fee within the next 15-day period as set forth in the city's municipal code. Now's the time for non-agenda public comment. This portion of the agenda provides an opportunity for the public to address the Planning Commission on non-agenda, consent, and other business items within the jurisdiction of the Planning Commission and not listed on the agenda. It is requested but not required that you state your name, address, and subject matter upon which you wish to speak. Please limit your comments for non-agenda items to no more than 4 minutes. Pursuant to the Brown Act, no discussion or action other than a brief response, referral to the city planning staff, or schedule for a subsequent agenda item shall be taken by the Planning Commission on any issue brought forth under this section. Do we have anyone that wishes to speak?
Yes, non-agenda. Is there any way the Planning Commission can have any input to remove all the patio settings outside the restaurants on Downey Avenue between 2nd and 3rd Street? I know those were put in there for reasons that should not have been put there. There should have been no lockdowns at all. We know that the virus was a man-made synthetic virus. We know the vaccines are not vaccines, yet we were foisted this upon us and imposed on our right-of-way of a sidewalk in the nature over there. And it looks terrible. You can't drive through there. You can't walk through there. People are doing things in these areas that they shouldn't be doing out in public. There's room inside the restaurants. There's no need for any of the patios or the tables outside. Is there any way you can pull back on those permits that were issued under a so-called emergency order and get the garbage off the street? It looks terrible out there, and there's no way that it should be out there. We would really like it moved and removed, and let's go back to normal. We have to go back to normal like it was before, and let's move forward. Unless there's a plan to lock down again. Now, you can argue you want to leave those in place because we may have another emergency. Well, it's going to be man-made if it is. And we know we're looking at a climate change lockdown. That was brought up too during the lockdown situation. That's why the people that approve of lockdowns are asking for an amnesty now for what they have done to us. And they want us to, be friends with them again. Please forgive them is what they're saying right now. The answer is, I think people want justice for what was done to them. They want justice. This was inhumane what these people did. You wouldn't let people in to see their dying relatives in the hospitals. You wouldn't let them have a job. You wouldn't let their kids go to school. The devastating effect that did, shutting down the schools. All you that supported these lockdowns ought to be ashamed of yourself. And you ought to take these patios. These are a legacy situation, this al fresco patios. We don't live in Europe. We want privacy when we go to a restaurant. So let's get rid of these things. They're an eyesore. And let's have some more human feelings and not be so callous. Thanks.
Seeing nothing on the consent calendar, does the interim community development director have any additional comments?
I do have one comment for the commission. Our October 19th meeting was canceled, so I'm a little late on this notification, but it is an important one. The housing element was approved by HCD on October 14th, so the city now is in full compliance. We have a certified housing element, which makes us available for a lot of programs that the city is in need of. So it's a lot of work on behalf of the Planning Commission. We got a lot of feedback from you, and it's something that we're proud that we're finally done with, and then you get to see all the implementation phases that come forward.
Congratulations to all of you. Hard work. Good job. At this time, we'll adjourn until our next scheduled meeting.